Hey, good morning to you. It's Daybreak I-Fiber 816 here on a Monday morning. Morning, Vicki.
Good morning.
Got two great guests in studio from Mason County PUD number 3, Joel Myer and Justin Holzgrove. Morning, guys.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
We are talking Bitcoin mining.
Ooh, yeah.
What is that?
Put your hard hat on and
We're heading down deep
adjust
into
your-
the trenches
yeah,
here.
that's right.
So this is a new kind of thing in the digital landscape. I don't know if many folks quite understand. We get what Bitcoins are maybe. But Bitcoin mining is something that I wasn't really familiar with. What can you tell me about?
That concept's really a hard one to wrap your head around because you have the technical definition, and I'm going to try to make it a 5-cent version, is that as transactions are going on with your Bitcoin money, people all over the world, as a matter of fact, are helping with those transactions. The idea is if you can make your transactions as fast as possible using a lot of computing power, as you do those transactions and you do them well, you can get rewards in the form of Bitcoins. And so therefore what you're doing is trying to do those transactions as fast as you can, get the money in the Bitcoins, and it takes a lot of computing power and a lot of time to do that. So that's basically what folks are doing, is setting up equipment to do that.
Are they just kind of my home computer when I'm not using it? I think I've read that somewhere in science they can access your computers for processing power for checking the Hubble telescope or something like that. Is that roughly the same thing, or are these server rooms that are dedicated, what you think of like maybe not of a scale of Facebook or Google, but like a server farm? Or
They're similar. So the machines that they're looking at and they're using are actually graphics processor cards. So they're more efficient than a CPU that you have in your computer.
Sure.
And so what you have are really just very rudimentary boxes where you can put these cards in, and then they are all networked together. And so think more of the server farm image that you have. However, it's less of the kind of clean room server farm that you picture with the high-tech, lights and gizmos. What we're actually seeing is that they are in shipping containers coming over from China, where most of these products are made. My understanding is that China recently passed some regulations that perhaps lowered the, how favorable it is to do the mining operations there.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of coming this way to the United States, and specifically to the Pacific Northwest, where we have clean, low-cost hydropower, as well as BC. BC Hydro has a lot. And so they're moving them in shipping containers and bringing that over and setting them up. So it's really a low-staffed operation, and just kind of a plug it in and go type of an operation.
Is that why I've seen these graphic cards are more high-end graphics card? Every time I go into a place, it's like graphics cards with 2 gigabytes of memory on the graphics cards themselves. I never remember that from when I was a kid and building and gaming and stuff like that. Is that why they're doing it like this?
That's what's driving the market these days. I believe it's really tough to buy a graphics card if you just want to build a regular computer, because they're all being sucked up into this industry.
So prevalence here in Mason County or across the state, you mentioned because of our hydropower, there's a great opportunity for folks. Have you seen some of these around our area?
The ground zero seems to be what we call the mid-Cs, the mid-Columbia public utility districts that own dams. Most notably Chelan PUD, which just a couple of weeks ago instituted a moratorium similar to why we're looking at a moratorium, so they can get a handle on the energy impacts, the zoning impacts on where some of these Bitcoin mining operations are going, but also making sure that if somebody's going to be bringing in an operation like this, that the service, meaning your connection to the network, is appropriately sized for what you're doing.
Sure.
That's probably one of the biggest concerns that most public utilities in the Northwest are having with Bitcoin mining operations is sometimes you don't know they're there. They're using a lower level connection to the system, and with all that energy draw coming on it, you can have overheated electrical equipment. You can see neighbors in the area seeing fluctuations in their power and things like that. It's one of the things that you want to make sure that if they come in, they're doing it the right way, and we're doing it the right way.
There's if I can add to that, there's kind of this perception that power is power, and if a cryptocurrency miner or Bitcoin miner or a blockchain processing company comes in and they ask for, 3 megawatts of power or 10 megawatts of power, I think it's important to understand the scale, but also the type of energy usage that is. If you think of Sierra Pacific downtown,
Sure.
That's somewhere around the 10 megawatts of power range. So when one of these companies comes in and say they want 10 megawatts of power, we're like, whoa, that's Sierra Pacific.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a huge load
Right.
for us at Mason PUD 3. Or if they say they want 3 megawatts of power, that's a lot of power. But when you think of a mill, what you have saws turning off and on,
Sure.
off and on. And so they have a high demand that come in, but those saws don't stay on all day long, 24/7, 365, as we know.
Yeah.
It's an off and on type of thing. And so we design the electrical service in order to meet those needs.
Oh,
However,
yeah, that makes sense.
with this mining operation, the more transactions that they can process, the better for them, and the faster they can do, the better. And so their power needs are on
Yeah.
all of the time.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's a steady full 3 megawatts or 10 megawatts or whatever they ask for. And so that's a really unique difference. So when people talk about their energy needs, it's a constant, always on, 90% load factor type of energy need, as opposed to maybe more of like a 50% load factor or so that you would see at another type of a
So
industry.
what's PUD thinking about this? They're looking over in the Chelan PUDs, the other PUDs, and where's the commissioner's thoughts on this, and what are you guys telling them about where we should go here?
Well, first of all, I think to draw a comparison, when the cannabis industry was coming to Mason County, we realized and had a lot of ramp-up time to be able to be ready for it because of the process of getting the licenses and so forth.
Sure.
We knew that they were going to be a very unique type of energy load. We knew they were going to be an energy load that demanded a lot of electricity, and we were going to have to work with them from an engineering standpoint to make sure they had the appropriate equipment in place to handle those loads. So we had a lot of time to be able to develop not only the way we were going to work with them on their service, but also with how we would deal with them in terms of what type of rate class they would be in, because they are a unique consumer of electricity. In this case, this has been pretty much a surprise that they came to us, because when you take a look at electricity rates in the mid-Columbia area, they're relatively low. Well, they're really low compared to everyone else. And suddenly we have somebody coming to us, and even with our rates being a little bit higher than that, saying, we don't care, we want to be here, it was kind of a surprise. So this gives us that same type of breathing room we saw in the past to be able to take a look at what are the unique natures of this service that will affect our energy supply when we go out and buy it for them if they're here, how we're going to be engineering things for their facilities, and also making sure that as we build a rate for them, which would be appropriate for their use, that it does not affect rates of other customers in the PUD. Because if we have to go out and buy a lot more of electricity on the market for them or from Bonneville Power Administration, that could have an impact on rates locally. So those are all things that go into it, and is why we're thinking probably about a 3 to 4 month period will give us the time to come up with all those things and be ready to say, okay, we got everything down, let's talk again.
You hear that Bitcoin itself is very volatile, up and down, up
Yeah,
and down,
yeah.
up and down. And that, I think, gives the perception that this is a flash in the pan industry. But the reality is the whole thing that these initial coin offerings, such as Bitcoin, are based off it's based off the blockchain. And the blockchain is something that's not going away. It's new technology that's going to carry us into the future and is going to drive how everybody does business in the future, and that's all going to be based on this computing power that's decentralized all over the place. And so we are just taking this time, taking this breath to be able to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row, so that we can have a sustainable, future-focused, plan going forward. Because it's not going to be here and gone tomorrow.
Right.
And so it's.
I mean,
going
this
to the
is
future.
this is a sub industry. I mean, this is happening, and it's not that it's illegal or anything. But you guys just want to make sure you're prepared if it does. You know what I was
Right,
thinking of when they
yeah.
were talking about this, and they bring up cannabis and things like this.
Right.
And I have no idea if this is inaccurate, and you can stop me if it's not. But I'm thinking of all a snow-lined street where every roof has snow on it
Right.
except for one. And what do you know? They got all the high energy demands. They're growing something maybe in
What
their
are
attic
they
or something.
doing in there?
Just
Yeah.
a larger
Right.
power load.
I
Are
know.
there? Do
I
you?
didn't even think about that.
Are you familiar with these types of things happening now, just on a smaller scale around the area?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with the city of Wenatchee. They instituted a zoning moratorium on this because folks are setting up small Bitcoin mining operations in homes using their existing home connection, which is woefully undersized for something like this.
Sure.
And so they have concerns about fire. They have concerns about neighbor power impacts and things like that. So, oh yeah, this is something that that occurs, and we just want to make sure that it's on the up and up. And once we get this in place, I think that a success story that can be stated with the cannabis industry and our work with them on making sure that their rate structure was in place worked well. We have now how many operating
I believe
processors,
there's about
Justin?
30 operating producers and processors in Mason County. And I
Wow.
believe there's licenses for about 50, and some of them
Wow.
get together and
Yeah.
do joint operations. But from my understanding, Mason County is a really good place to set up shop in,
Sure.
in that area.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's got a lot low power.
Yeah.
Clean air, everything like that. Very cool.
Very
Joel
nice.
Myer, Justin Holzgrove, thank you so much explaining this for us a little bit more. Trying
Yeah,
to
we had no
get
idea.
it figured out.
We're excited. I do have a leave behind for you.
Yes, okay.
PUD3.org/Osprey. All right, we have an Osprey platform that we had to build because we had an Osprey nest building on one of our power poles, and that would have been dangerous for the bird, dangerous for the electrical grid, and so we had to move them. They're federally protected, and so we did a remediation plan for that. And while we were building that platform, we put up a webcam and the Osprey are home. So we had to do that work
I
last
love
summer.
that.
And if you go to PUD3.org/Osprey, you can watch a 24/7 webcam of this nest. And the male appeared about almost a week ago, and the female appeared on yesterday. So the male's now getting to work building the nest. And we did see that there were 2 males and 1 female, and so they're maybe trying to figure out whose home it is. And so there's lots of activity. There will be eggs and young, and we're really excited.
Very cool.
Osprey have high nest site fidelity, which means that they come back year after year. And so we're really excited to watch our family grow and learn,
That
do
is
some
so
learning
cool.
along
Well,
with
we'll
it.
put the links to that for sure in the
check
show
that out.
notes. Thanks,
Yeah, thank
guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Justin Holzgrove and Joel Myer from PUD3.